Good evening and welcome to the Board of Education Business Meeting. It is February 3rd, 2026, and it is 7:16. So I will call the meeting to order and first ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. With us tonight, we have Board of Education members Nellie Cole, Sherry McCready Pritchard, Ashley Goulias, Board President Howard White, sorry, Howard. We have Superintendent Dr. Estrella. We have Mary Ellen Flaherty. Ludwig. Having a moment. We have Diana Carpio, Jasmine Prezi, and Marcus Jamie or Jaime. Hi, thank you. Okay, so next item on the agenda is the spotlight. And so I turn that over to Ashley.
Okay, thank you. We have two spotlights this evening. First, Norwalk Board of Education celebrates mentors serving NPS students. The Norwalk Board of Education proudly recognizes the dedicated mentors who support and guide Norwalk Public Schools students, as well as the teachers and staff who mentor students every day in our schools. Through their commitment, care, and leadership, these individuals play a vital role in helping students succeed academically, socially, and emotionally. Norwalk Public Schools is fortunate to partner with two exceptional mentorship programs: the Norwalk Mentor Program through the Human Services Council, and the district's My Sister's Keeper and My Brother's Keeper programs. Together, these initiatives provide meaningful mentorship to hundreds of NPS students. For nearly 40 years, NPS has partnered with the Norwalk Mentor Program, which currently serves 435 students matched with mentors from across the community. These mentors contribute more than 10,000 hours annually and have helped students in the program achieve a 100% graduation rate. Beyond academics, mentors serve as trusted role models and motivators, helping address challenges such as chronic absenteeism and supporting students' overall well-being. We'd like to give special recognition tonight to the School Liaison of the Year from Nathan Hale, Doreen Marr. In recent years, My Sister's Keeper and My Brother's Keeper have continued to grow as powerful spaces where students of color can thrive through mentorship, leadership, development, service, and social emotional learning. Led by LaShante James, Assistant Principal of Brian McMahon High School, My Sister's Keeper empowers young women to discover their strengths, build confidence, and develop skills that prepare them for success in school and beyond. Mentors foster meaningful relationships that support critical thinking, communication, and resilience. Led by Kadir Abdus Salam, Assistant Principal of P-Tech Norwalk, My Brother's Keeper supports young men of color through strong mentoring relationships, leadership development, core values, and a rites of passage program that promotes social emotional growth, community service, and academic engagement. The Board of Education extends its sincere gratitude to the Norwalk Mentor Program, the My Sister's Keeper and My Brother's Keeper mentors, and to all NPS teachers and staff who serve as mentors throughout the year. Your dedication and commitment make a lasting difference in the lives of our students and our school community.
I would like to ask Ms. LaShante James and Kadir Abdus Salam to join me to sharing a few words of the mentorship program with MSK, as well as Dr. Danielle Williams, who has been supporting the program as well. We also have Doreen Marr from our partnership with Human Service Council in our mentorship program that one of our board members, Jasmine Prezi, leads. And we want them to share a few words. So I would like to ask first Doreen Marr to join us to share a few words.
Hi, good evening. I want to thank you for inviting me to be here tonight as you spotlight some amazing programs that we have here in Norwalk. My name is Doreen Marr, and I'm the Nathan Hale Middle School Liaison for the Norwalk Mentor Program. And I'm completely out of my comfort zone, standing up here speaking. But if what I say compels even one adult to sign up to be a mentor, then I'm okay with how I'm feeling in the moment. The Norwalk Mentor Program is a program that I hold very close to my heart. I've been a mentor, and I'm truly honored to be part of a program that has been impacting lives of our Norwalk children and youth for 40 years. Being the liaison at Nathan Hale has given me the opportunity to see and feel the impact firsthand, to see connections made between our students and caring adults, to see the emotional growth in students who truly benefit from having an additional person on their side, showing up for them with consistency, to see students who light up in their own way, knowing today is the day that their mentor is coming to see them, to see children who might be struggling in school and in life feel a sense of calm when their mentor enters the room. These connections are powerful and life-changing. There are so many more children who could benefit from having a mentor. So finally, I would like to say to all the adults out there that are listening to this, if you have 1 hour each school week, roughly 40 hours a year, to become that connection, that light, that calm for a child, please sign up to be a mentor. Thank you.
And now I would like to welcome the MBK MSK team.
Good evening, Mr. Howard White, members of the board, Dr. Estrella, and members of our Norwalk community. My name is Kadir Abdul Salam, and I have the privilege of serving as the district facilitator for the Norwalk Public Schools My Brother's Keeper program. For those that don't know, My Brother's Keeper began as a national initiative created by President Barack Obama to address opportunity gaps facing boys and young men of color. Here in Norwalk, however, it has become something deeply personal. It is a district-wide effort rooted in a simple belief. When students are supported, connected, and truly seen, they rise. This work is built on consistency and relationships. Each month, our scholars and mentors come together for district events, focused on core values like leadership, resilience, and service. These gatherings combine team building, academic skill building, and social emotional learning while giving students meaningful opportunities to connect beyond the classroom. At the school level, mentors meet regularly with their mentees, offering guidance and steady support as students navigate academic and social challenges. These are not one-time interactions, they are intentional, relationships built over time, relationships that create trust and a sense of belonging. Everything we do is grounded in core values: brotherhood, empathy, compassion, integrity, student leadership, resilience, service, and teamwork. These values are not abstract. They are lived daily by our students and shape how they see themselves and their role in the community. At its core, My Brother's Keeper, or MBK, is about making sure our young men know they matter, that they belong, and that the true sense of brotherhood is walking alongside them with our ancestors. It is about building belief in who they are and who they can become. When students feel that level of connection and support, it changes how they show up in school and in life. Thank you for standing with us and for continuing to invest in the relationships and opportunities that help our students grow through the power of mentorship.
Good evening. My name is LaShante James. I'm the district facilitator for My Sister's Keeper, and I think Kadir captured the program and its essence, but I would like to extend on that in terms of My Sister's Keeper. We were given the opportunity to develop a program or build one out for our female students, and I'm fortunate to have mentors that span across different professions in the district. So we have non-certified and certified who volunteer their time to support our students. I'd like to acknowledge the mentors in the room. There are some who came back tonight just to be here and to be spotlighted for their work. And this morning, I was looking through a news segment, and it's ironic that the quote came up that impact is invisible unless it shows up in someone's story. And I am fortunate to work with students across grades 8 through 12. And we were talking about it in the back of the room, and it's been 4.5 years that we've been able to offer this program for more than 100 students over 4.5 years. Some of the students have been in the program since middle school. And so when we think about our impact that is showing up in the stories of our students, I can say it's no longer invisible. I have students writing me letters, students who show up in my office, students who show up for other mentors who are looking for support. And we are truly grateful for the opportunity to not only foster their sense of belonging, but ours. There are adults in the program who feel connected, who feel supported, and who belong in our district. So thank you so much to the board for your support and the opportunity to serve in this capacity. And thank you for the spotlight.
Thank you for your leadership in these programs and for helping our scholars.
I got this one working. We have a second spotlight this evening. And the second spotlight is Black History Month, February 2026. The Norwalk Board of Education proudly recognizes Black History Month across Norwalk Public Schools. Throughout February, we encourage our schools, educators, students, and community to honor the history, achievements, and lasting contributions of Black Americans. This year marks a significant milestone, 100 years of Black commemorations. In 1926, historian Dr. Carter G. Woodson established Black History Week to elevate the contributions of Black Americans, selecting February in recognition of the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. That observance expanded in 1976 to Black History Month and has since been recognized annually at the national level. In recognition of this milestone, Norwalk Public Schools has selected the theme 100 Years of Black Commemorations for the district's 4th annual Black History and Heritage Festival. The festival will take place on Thursday, February 26th from 5:45 to 8 p.m. at Norwalk High School. The community is invited to join us for an evening celebrating Black history, culture, and excellence through student performances, presentations, and the return of our Black Wall Street, highlighting local Black-owned businesses. Across the district, Black History Month is celebrated in classrooms through lessons that highlight influential historical figures, educators, inventors, authors, poets, and civil rights leaders, helping students understand the impact of Black Americans on our nation's past and present. Now more than ever, the education and preservation of Black history is essential. By reflecting on both the challenges and achievements of the past, we strengthen our commitment to a future grounded in equity, inclusion, and respect for the diverse contributions that shape our shared American story. The Norwalk Board of Education encourages all schools to participate in activities and learning opportunities throughout February that honor generations of Black Americans who have enriched our community and our country.
And now moving on to public comment.
Good evening, everyone. Just going to read a friendly reminder. The Norwalk Board of Education welcomes the public comment at this meeting. Persons addressing the board during public comment should state their name and their address, and they should then limit their comments to 3 minutes. Speakers attending the meeting in person must sign up at the podium to speak during the first 5 minutes of the meeting. The speaker attending the meeting remotely must use the raise hand feature on the Zoom during the first 5 minutes of the meeting. At the conclusion of the public comment by the speaker attending the meeting in person, the person attending the meeting by electric means who have asked to speak will be recognized individually. Given the public comment is the opportunity for the board members to hear the public board members will not respond or speak during the public comment. I would like to also address and just be mindful that one of the main things that we want to just remind each and every one as you're speaking, let's respect each and every one at the podium. That is their time. Respect that time. For whatever reason, during this session, as we move forward, whatever comments you have, I ask, please keep your comments to yourself. This is not the time to interrupt. We will definitely address whatever needs to be addressed at a later date, but I just want to be mindful that the respect aspect is to be respectful for each and every one of us. We up here are going to respect your wishes, and I'm expecting everyone to respect ours as well. Thank you.
The first speaker or first public comment is Lynn Moore.
Lynn Moore, 813 Foxborough Drive, Norwalk, Connecticut. To the members of the BOE, as you work on the budget, please ask Mr. Asmani to provide you all the budget details related to the 300, 400, and 500 series of the NPS 2627 operating budgets, as well as all contracts or written agreements associated with the individuals or companies that are paid from these particular sections. On another matter, did you know that without a BOE vote, the district has entered into 3-year contracts with Mr. Pennington, Mr. Valenzizi, Ms. Fayois, Mr. Asmani? In the past, the contracts of members of the superintendent's cabinets worked under 1-year contracts. So what is that about? As a BOE member, it might be almost impossible to cut those positions. You would have to find a workaround regarding the 3-year contracts. Please ask Mr. Asmani about the raises of the cabinet members and the exorbitant mileage allowances that members of the cabinet receive. Ask for the contracts. Some of those raises ranged from $8,000 to $20,000. The impression is that the BOE would rather put money into the salaries of cabinet members than into the classrooms with teachers and paras. But maybe the BOE did not know. If that is the case, then there must be a stronger oversight of the district by the BOE. Whenever a union settles its contract with the BOE, the contract must be approved by the BOE. Why are the contracts of the cabinet members not approved by the BOE at a BOE meeting? Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Hope Wyatt.
Good evening, members of the Board of Ed. I stand here on behalf of the Norwalk Federation of Educational Personnel, and I am very disappointed in the fact that there was no heat in Jefferson Elementary School on yesterday. And upon several attempts to get answers, it wasn't until 5:00 p.m. that we received an answer from Mrs. Fayois. It is unacceptable to have children and staff members in classrooms. There is contractual violations, and we would like to see those addressed. The next thing is our 10-month employees. Our non-certified staff are one of the most important bargaining units in the district. We are the glue that hold buildings together. And it is very disappointing that we would have so many snow days where these least paid people don't get paid for the days that snow days are called. We hope that this will change.
Thank you. Next, we have Mary Jordan.
Good evening, Mary Jordan, 9 Mott Avenue. I wanted to speak on behalf of the Norwalk Federation of Teachers related to the topic of special education. Our special educators and service providers deliver very high quality services here under very challenging conditions sometimes, and we're very proud of our work. We successfully serve many students in district who would be outplaced if they were in a different district. At the same time, the current conditions are not sustainable. Students can be better served in some cases. We can do better. Special education staff are often stretched way too thin. While new hires are often well qualified, they need clear district protocols. They need ongoing support. EdSite data shows that attrition at NPS for regular, all kinds of certified staff is double the state average. Resignation rates, we know, among our specialized learning staff are even higher than that of the regular certified staff. Just recently, a special education teacher started and resigned on the same day. It is a signal that the system is not working. We know what improves outcomes for students: manageable caseloads, stable staffing, clearly defined roles and responsibilities. These allow programs to function more effectively. Consistent protocols improve service delivery, compliance, and staff retention. They also promote equity by ensuring students receive services based on need, not on a family's ability to advocate or hire legal representation. Capacity is a budget decision. When staffing levels and caseloads are not well supported, when they are underfunded, the district experiences missed services, burnout, complaints, and increased reliance on costly out-of-district placements. These conditions widen inequities and cost more over time. Our ask is straightforward. Please prioritize funding for adequate special education staffing and manageable caseloads. Please support the development of clear protocols, roles, and responsibilities so special
30
education
seconds.
programming is effective and equitable. With targeted investments now, we can stabilize the workforce, strengthen equity of services, and ensure that every student receives the services that he or she is entitled to and needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Jess Hopkins.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Hopkins. I live at 34 Union Avenue. Good evening, members of the board. I am a parent of a fourth grade student in the dual language program at Silvermine Elementary School. My daughter has attended Silvermine since kindergarten. Coming from a monolingual home, enrolling her in a bilingual program was something we were truly excited about. It felt like giving her a gift, the opportunity to learn another language, experience another culture, and open doors for her future. Over time, however, the excitement has turned into serious concern. To be completely honest, I have no real understanding of my daughter's academic progress in Spanish. In English, I receive testing results, benchmarks, and clear communication about where she stands. In Spanish, I receive none of that. No assessment, no progress report, no measurable outcomes. I know my daughter can speak in intelligent, complete sentences filled with information and detail, but that context is in English. My only real evidence of her Spanish ability is that she can order one great taco from the neighborhood taco truck. While that's cute and impressive, it is not an academic measurement. Instead of transparency and data, parents are repeatedly reassured that there's no reason to be concerned, while meaningful questions go unanswered. Let me walk you through my repeated attempts to get clarity. On August 26th, I emailed asking how the dual language program was functioning as a 50-50 model in grades 4 and 5, when students were spending roughly 2/3 of the day with English teachers and only 1/3 in Spanish. And during that Spanish block, my daughter has recess, lunch, and specials. On September 2nd, Ms. Paredes responded that she wanted to speak by the phone. I respectfully asked her to continue the conversation via email so both my husband and I could remain informed. After that request, I received no response. I followed up on September 9th. I followed up on September 15th. On September 15th, Ms. Shepard apologized that she had not received a reply. Finally, on September 16th, 21 days after my question, I received a response stating, and I quote, students continue
30 seconds.
Students receive equal time in English language arts and Spanish language arts, maintaining the balance that has always been the core of our bilingual mission. Yet on December 29th, through Parent Square, family received a different message explaining the adjustment to the current program. Over the course of the week, the results is approximately 58% English and 42% Spanish balance for 4th and 5th grade. My question is simple.
So time's up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Stephanie Nelru.
Good evening, everyone. I'm speaking on behalf of my sister. This is Stephanie Nelson. I'm Cammie Julie Nelson Benjamin. We come before you because we have and our address is 24 Charlene Road. We come before you because of my nephew, Ethan, which is her son. He attends Fox Run Elementary School, and he has not been treated the way that he should be treated. And we would like your help in pursuing more help with his education. Multiple times my sister has reached out to the school to help him academically, because the thing is, and she's had asked multiple times for them to do testings, like the Board of Education, not Board of Education, the special education program. She has asked them multiple times to test him for ADHD and other problematic problems that he may have. They have told her multiple times that the testing won't be done because the testing is too hard. He won't be able to handle it. So she has reached out multiple times to multiple people in the facility, but she has not gotten any help with him. They would suspend him as a kindergartner. They would suspend him. They would ask her to take him, like keep him home. If he goes to a field trip, he cannot go if she's not there, and she's a working mother. She cannot stop working to go on a field trip with him. So she's not getting the help that she needs with her son. And just a side note, myself, I came from Haiti to here. And all my experiences in the Board of Education, from Fox Run to PONUS and from to McMahon, I've had phenomenal teachers who helped me establish who I am today. And I can say that I would like the same help with my nephew today. It shouldn't be a difference because it's the same exact school. So I am asking.
Seconds.
Yep. I am asking for you guys to help us to pursue more help for my nephew. And we do have all the documentations where she has reached out to them, what they have said, and for the documentations from his pediatrician that he needs the help. He doesn't need to be staying home. He doesn't need to be sent back to preschool. He just needs that opportunity to grow in his health.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone online? Yes.
We have two people online. First is Daisy Sebastian. Please state your name and your address, and I'm allowing you to talk now.
Good evening. My name is Daisy Sebastian. Can you confirm you can hear me? Hello?
Daisy, Sebastian. We cannot hear you.
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Okay, we do not hear you. One moment. All right, Daisy, we will come back to you. I think we're having problems through the room. I think we can hear her in the Zoom room. Can we try, Daisy, we'll come back to you. Can we try Angela Giraldo? I'm going to allow you to speak. Daisy, one moment.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Angela, can you?
Yes, can you hear me? Hi, good evening, can you hear me? Good evening, my name is Angela Giraldo, 158 Perry Avenue. At the last meeting, bilingual and dual language programs were praised by district officials. Yet, the lived experiences
Okay,
of...
Angela, can you try one more time?
Good evening, can you hear me?
Okay, there you go.
Good evening, my name is Angela Giraldo, 158 Perry Avenue. At the last BOE meeting, bilingual and dual language programs were praised by district officials. Yet, the lived experience of students and families tell a very different story. Over the last 3 years, Supermine's dual language program has experienced systemic lapses and that deviate from what was advertised to families. Dedicated Spanish intervention services have been eliminated. Spanish assessments are inconsistent, and families have not received Spanish assessment results in over a year. Spanish instruction in core subjects have been partially replaced by Spanish art every 4 days, and Spanish sprinkled gym, music, and library, none of which substitute for daily immersive instruction by certified Spanish teachers. Key framework components, such as total physical response, are no longer mandatory, and training for new teachers in this specific model is no longer provided. Fourth and fifth grade classrooms also lack full bilingual staffing. Even if one bilingual teacher splits the day between Spanish and English, this staffing model does not provide the immersion required for an effective dual language program. Despite these lapses, families continue to be told that Supermind offers a dual language immersion program. Teachers have been hired without proper certification, which is inconsistent with dual language magnet program requirements. In addition, claims that grade 3 Smarter Balanced math proficiency improved were used to justify moving math instruction to English only. However, state data shows overall math proficiency declined, fourth grade scores dropped, and cohort data indicates students lose ground as they advance. Family engagement has also been insufficient. December meetings did not allow parents to meaningfully respond to staffing or schedule changes, relying instead on brief sticky note feedback to generalize questions. As a result, Supermind program is operating without required staffing or approvals, disrupting instruction, limiting transparency, and creating audit funding, and civil rights risks. Prompt action is essential to protect students and program integrity. I respectfully ask the board to restore the approved 50/50 dual language model and core framework components, fully staff the program with certified, trained dual language teachers, restore Spanish intervention services and standardize Spanish assessments, ensure transparent, meaningful parent engagement, and order an independent compliance and financial review of program fidelity, civil rights obligations, assessment data, and magnet fund use.
Thank you.
With ongoing monitoring. Thank you.
Daisy, back to you.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Daisy Sebastian, and I live at 127 Perry Avenue. I would like to begin by giving a heartfelt thank you to the board members and Mayor Smith for finally making the Silvermine community feel heard. While there's still work to be done, having a new leader in the building is a great first step. Dr. Estrella, as the superintendent, it would be beneficial to hear from you in regards to how you are going to help rebuild not only the 50/50 dual language program at Silvermine, but also the trust of the staff. We have already lost about 27 staff members over the course of the last few years, and we cannot afford to lose any more. The staff needs to know that Ms. Paredes is not coming back, so they may begin to heal from enduring an emotionally unsafe work environment. If this is not communicated, I fear by the end of the year, many more staff members will either resign or request a school transfer. Also, it is clear that central office staff need to be educated on the 50/50 dual language programs at Silvermine and West Rocks Middle Schools. At last month's board meeting, there was a PowerPoint presentation that shared data in regards to the district's MLL program. And for some reason, our dual language program was included in this presentation. The primary goal of MLL services is to help non-English speaking students to access academic content and navigate the English dominant school setting. You have also created these one-way dual language classrooms. This again is not a dual language program and should not be compared to us. This service again is to help non-English speaking students to access academic content and navigate the English dominant school setting. These are both helpful in a district like Norwalk. However, these services are meant to end when the child has reached English proficiency. I will repeat that. It is an imperative to understand that both of these services are meant to end when the student has reached English proficiency. Dr. Estrella, these services are vastly different from the 50/50 dual language programs at West Rocks and Silvermine. The goal of the dual language programs are designed to teach biliteracy, bilingualism, and cross-cultural competence for English and Spanish dominant students equally. These students together learn to read, write, speak, and understand two languages simultaneously. There is also not an end date to this learning. These students from kindergarten are preparing to take the Connecticut State Seal of Biliteracy in high school. Our dual language programs not only require principals who are entrusted to implement this important work and understand the differences between our program and MLL services, but we also need central office staff to be educated on the differences so they are not providing the Board of Education incorrect information, as I saw at last month's board meeting. Thank you, Dr. Estrella, in advance for helping educate the staff that work for you. Thank you.
Those are all the members of the public online.
Now we're going to go into the superintendent report.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this board meeting. I want to start off by first celebrating the great accomplishment that we had this evening a few minutes ago, about an hour almost now. We had the joy of hosting the Future Ready graduation, where we had our scholars cross the aisle. Unfortunately, because of the storm, we had to reschedule, but it was so great to be with them and celebrate with their families. The room was filled with joy and laughter after our scholars reached such a critical milestone, particularly because many of our students in these programs have a lot of adulting responsibilities, and despite that have been able to beat the odds and cross over the stage. Every year upon our June graduation, I always think about those kids that don't have the opportunity to cross the stage. And as a district, having programs that allow our scholars to do that brings a lot of joy to me. So I just want to start my superintendent report just by highlighting that little piece of celebration that I think is so important. And I want to thank the board for supporting this critical work that we do on behalf of our scholars, alongside the teachers, paraeducators, and other staff that make this work possible. I want to have Mr. Pennington join me for my superintendent report, which I will be providing an update around special education services across the district. We have been immersed in a lot of conversation around special education over the course of several months, some tied to programming structures, other tied to our budget planning moving forward. As you know, as the pandemic occurred, the number of students needing services has increased, not only in Norwalk, but statewide and across the nation. Also, the cost for providing services have increased exponentially. And the amount of funding that we receive to support these services have not increased at the same magnitude. In some cases, many of the grants that have supported this work have actually diminished rather than increased with time and increased to the same level in which the services have elevated their cost. In the board package this evening, I included a document from Shipman and Goodman that highlights many of the state mandates, many of which are special education mandates, and some of which are an array of different mandates that we have across the organization. And this is a very substantive document that Shipman and Goodman, in collaboration with CAPES and other partners, have been working to create, to build awareness around the number of services that we as a school system have to provide, yet don't receive funding to provide these services. And in many cases, special education services are one of the many of the legislative elements within this document that we have to provide services, and we don't get the funding from the state level when those mandates, or even from the federal level at the rate in which these mandates require them to provide them adequately. So I just wanted to point that out. I wanted to share this document with the board. This is an ongoing conversation across superintendents in the state, and just elevating awareness around all of the expectations that we as a system have to abide by. A good example that might be fresh in board members' memories is when the age of our 18 to 22 program, the exit age, was adjusted, and just on the first year cost us $900,000 more to provide the services. And that's just one of many examples in which we have to make adjustments in our programs that require additional funding, that we will have to rely on our taxpayers because the state does not fund. So we will continue to have conversations at the state level among superintendents, and CAPES is going to help us advocate in regards to how to most effectively support systems with all of these unfunded mandates, and finding ways for these mandates to be funded, because it creates a great strain in our system. With that, I want to go then now transition into a conversation around our special education programs. Ralph, this is going to be hard for me to like. This is not working? It's fine if it, like, I'm gonna get started. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I have my PowerPoint here. I just, oh, but the board can see also because it's behind them. Appreciate that. I apologize. We went from having the graduation right into the board meeting, so our apologies. Many of these slides are things that we've discussed already. This is just a follow-up. So thank you. So one of the things I want to start with is around special education. We wanted to really shift across the district the mindset around how people were thinking about special education services, because in many cases, people were seeing it as a permanent placement, not a service. And we wanted to shift the mindset that all students are general education students and special education is a service that we provide to students. We also wanted to ensure that when we were supporting students, particularly in advancing their academic aptitude, that we understood that the curriculum that we were using should be universal across the organization with the appropriate scaffolds for students. Because in the past, the curriculum that we were using was not the same in special education as it was in our general education settings. And in order for us to effectively support students receiving special education services, we need to ensure that students are being challenged with the same level of standard aligned curricula as any student in the organization. So we made an enormous shift in terms of teaching and learning and the tools that were being used, understanding that for students receiving special education services, there needed to be scaffolds built in. That's why they're receiving the service, so that they can have access to the tools. We also made it very clear and supported the organization around understanding that the goal is, and this is also a conversation with our parents, that students are in the least restrictive environment. The last thing that we want to do is overprescribe services to students that build a dependence on, and then don't gradually learn how to move away from those services in a way that will build their independence and self-directed learning. So we really try, particularly in PPT conversations and when we have parent workshops around special education services, when we are providing professional learning experiences for our staff, that we do it in a manner that reiterates this idea. And again, I already spoke about the importance of scaffolds because we want to make sure we meet students where they are. We also reestablished our vision around the work, making sure that what we were doing, the processes that we were building were equitable, where students are having experiences similar to their peers, not receiving services, but most importantly, that every student in the program had the capacity to aspire to their hopes and dreams and be able to be self-sufficient in life, particularly for those students that are part of our 18 to 22 program, that are really focused in building life skills, going out in the field and receiving services and experiencing the world and receiving services in an interconnected way so that they could become independent adults. Our special education vision also aligns to our overarching mission as a district around servicing all students and making sure that they're on a path for graduation and beyond. So I'm going to now go into some of the data and some of the patterns that we've seen. I'm going to ask Mr. Pennington to speak a little bit about prevalence and how we've managed this component as our need has increased in terms of most effectively providing services.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Smith, is this on? Oh, Chairman White and other board members. So our prevalence rate, as you can see in the number of students that we are servicing for their IEP goals and objectives, has increased over the last 5 years. If we go back into 2020-21, we had 1,689 students, and our prevalence rate was roughly at 14%. We are now, this year, our prevalence rate is at 18%. If you look at last year, the state doesn't release their data, and we won't have that information until October 1st of next year. So I can only share where we are currently as a district. And so you can see that our number of students is roughly the same, but the prevalence rate, because it's determined by the total population, and then the number of students with IEPs. So you can see that increase over time. I think it's important to just share some surrounding districts and their prevalence rates so you can have a comparison. You can see we have a wider range of different schools that we have pulled from: Bridgeport, Danbury, Darien, Greenwich. Some are higher, some are lower. And you can see as a district, we are at 17%, and the state average as of last year was 17.8%. So we are below the state average, and we are comparable with some towns. We are below some towns. We are above some towns. And I think that it's something that we are continually looking at, is how are we comparing to other communities? And the number of students has an impact on number of staff. And I think there's a really good correlation to the next slide, which is going to show our special education teachers over the last few years. So if you were to look, you can see going back to 21-22, we had 127 special education teachers. We are currently at 156.7. And so I did have someone ask me the other day, how do you get a 0.7? And so we can have a 0.5 teacher, but we also have tried to be creative. We have a retired educator who comes back 1 day a week, and she helps with assessments at various schools. So she doesn't want to work full time, but she comes and she supports the district 1 day a week. And it's been a huge asset for the teachers in the district, and she's been great to have on our team. So this is definitely something that we are constantly looking at: the number of students, the number of teachers, and and you can see that over the last few years, that number is continually rising. Some of that has to do with the prevalence rate, some of it has to do with the development of programs, because every program needs a teacher. So I do think that is something to share and to highlight. And we're constantly looking to add where we can. I think that we heard this evening more staff, and I think that is something that we are constantly looking at. Every year we do a caseload audit. And I think it's important to say it's only one moment in time, because where the caseload is in October is different than where it is in December, which is different than where it is in March. But we do a caseload audit in collaboration with the teachers union, where we come together, we look at the caseloads across schools and see how it's faring out. And we've made adjustments mid-year. This year in particular, when we looked at the caseload, we saw a school where their allocation was 2.5 teachers. However, those 2.5 teachers had very high hours of service. And so based on the audit, we made an adjustment, and that school now has 3 full-time teachers. So that is something that we do every year. And every time we have done it, there has been an adjustment in a school that we work through. So it is something we're constantly analyzing. We are constantly working in collaboration to see how we're doing and see where we need to make adjustments. And I think it's important that we do make adjustments when needed. So that is important. We also have new teachers, and new teachers do need to be supported. We know that. Special education is a challenging field, and our teachers do work tremendously hard. And I want to give them a huge shout out because they are every day doing great work for kids. So one of the things that the special education department developed is a monthly new teacher academy. So, and this is for special educators, and every month there is a new criteria, a new category where our special ed teachers can come. I think the one challenge, if I was going to share a challenge, is it is during the school day, so they do come for a half a day of professional learning. And you can see the wide range of topics that are scheduled for this year, from PPT best practices to writing present levels using data to progress monitoring to self-care. So these are things, and this is a way that something that was developed last year, new to support our new teachers.
And this is created in collaboration with some of our staff who are experienced to support the work. I think another worthy thing to mention about not only teacher development, but also our paraeducators. We worked in collaboration with Hope Wyatt and FEP to build in professional learning experiences for our paras. So I want to thank Ms. Wyatt for having the creativity and willingness to work with us around building those learning opportunities, because our paras also play an instrumental role in building our students' capacity. They actually sometimes have the most one-on-one interactions with our kids, and having the opportunity to professionally develop them was something that was very important to me. And we collaborated with NFEP, and now we offer a series of workshops for our paraeducators that I think is very beneficial, and based on the surveys, is very well received by them as well.
Yes. And I think, just to your point, one other piece to add is that these topics are run by our special ed administrators, but also some of our, what I would say is mentor special ed teachers. So we are pulling from our experts in the field in Norwalk to provide these trainings. And I think that that is really exciting for us as an organization to be able to offer this level of support. Now, we know that recruitment is important. One of the new initiatives that I've had the pleasure of working with Mary Jordan and Hope Wyatt on these two projects is a cross-endorsement opportunity for current teachers. And I was interested to see how many people would be interested in participating in a cross-endorsement. And I have been blown away by the level of interest, the questions. And so this is going to start in the summer, where current teachers will be able to start their coursework this summer. It'll be paid for by the district. They will be able to work this summer to earn enough hours to then be DSAP to become a special educator in the fall. And then they will finish their work and become fully certified in that role. Part of the agreement is that they will have the opportunity we pay for the coursework. They will get a movement on their salary step for learning, and they will commit to 3 years in special education. So it's what I would say is a win-win. And I'm calling this a grow your own initiative. And then the other opportunity is with Central Connecticut State, and that is for our paraeducators who have a bachelor's degree. And so we are going to offer people with a bachelor's degree an opportunity to go into special education. They will have courses that will start this summer. It will take a little bit longer for them to get through the program, so they wouldn't be able to say be DSEPT in the fall. And just so in case you're wondering what that is, DSAP is a district shortage area permit. And in a shortage area, you can get this permit to teach while you're finishing your certification. So that is, and that's not just in special ed, that's in other high needs areas.
I
And
think,
go ahead, Alex. I was just going to say, I think that these are really great opportunities for both our teachers and for our paraeducators, but ultimately it's a great idea for the district in a way to help keep our teachers, because we want to be able to continue to build our special ed program.
and I think one of the things that we really were supportive of is rethinking as we negotiated the last NFT contract, making sure that our salaries remain competitive, particularly at the entry level. And I think we made some strides in that area. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is where we stood at one point in terms of the salary scale and losing staff because other districts were paying more to their special education teachers. In some cases, giving them entry bonuses and other incentives that we don't have the luxury to provide. So part of our challenge is finding other creative ways in which we can provide incentives to our current staff to want to continue their education so that we can expand our pool, particularly when the competition is so high because everyone is going towards the same people within the same universities and programs. There's only so many people that we can tap into. And when they're paying more and providing additional incentives, we have a lot of challenges trying to recruit because of the additional resources that other places are affording teacher candidates. And let me just,
all right.
Give me 1 second. All right, I think this is a good point to stop and take questions from the board.
I just wanted to comment, I really liked that you have self-care on the program for the new special education teachers, because I think that they're, with the high caseloads, there is a good amount of burnout with special education teachers. So I liked seeing that. A quick question is, what universities are available, or programs are available for that summer coursework to get the dual certification?
Okay, so for the teachers, it's through it's an alternative route to certification, so it's through a RESC. It's not through a university. For the para educator, it's through Central Connecticut State. And one of the key pieces, at least for me, was both of those programs are on the other end of the state. And because we are able to get so many people involved, that we're going to have a cohort here in Fairfield County. So people that are working locally, they don't have to travel, say, to Hartford, which is, if you've ever been on I-95, it's not a fun ride sometimes. So I think that is an important piece. And then when they are in the fall, when they have classes, it's remote, it's virtual. And so, and I think one of the parts of that I really appreciated about the paraeducator residency program is that they can continue working while they're going through this program. They don't have to stop working, which I think is really important.
In an effort to understand this rather complicated position we're in, trying to get more special needs teachers and grow our own, could you just explain a little bit more about what REST provides? You said on the other side of the state, of course, we have CES on this side of the state, but they are not providing this particular program. And I think that's a very interesting thing for the community to understand how the state can support us in meaningful ways.
Sure. So this program, it's through ACES, which is another RESC on the other end of the state, and they have the alternative route program, whereas CES does not have that type of program here. And they have great opportunities. They have great professional learning. We have partnerships with CES where they can help out in certain areas. I mean, they have an out-of-district placement program. And I know that we have students that attend that program. That program from a cost standpoint is less than other private out-of-district programs. So they're a really good partner. We've used them in some of our mental health work. We've used them in different areas. It's nice to be able to have RESCs across the state that have different offerings to help districts.
Rob, what protocols in place for special education self-contained classrooms?
So we're going to get into self-contained programs, and I'll make sure that I answer that when we get into that part. That's our next part of the presentation. Jasmine?
Could you expound on the caseload audits? Like how would a staff member raise that concern, like when it's not like during the touch points where that is automatic?
So we have special ed administrators that support the different schools. And there are times where they will come and say, we're looking at caseload at this school and it's hit what they will call a tipping point, because one of the pieces is throughout the year, new students can get identified. Because at any time you can go through the PPT process. And so we look at a couple different factors, right? No two students are the same. So we look at students, but we also look at their hours of service. And we use that hours of service to determine the tipping point. At any time, like I've had special ed administrators say, at this school, we have a teacher who has hit what we might call it like a breaking point. And then we look at the situation and we make adjustments as needed, and we could still add at that point. It's not like this is the only time we can add. An example would be last year, before the audit, we knew that CGS had an increased number of students, and their allocation at the time was 1.5 special ed teachers. And we said, we can't do this. It needed to go. And so it went up to 2.0. And so that is something that we are constantly looking at. And what's nice is when there's work at the school level, like where they'll try and work out the caseload piece. And I want to say it's not a perfect science, because at a school, if I have I'm going to just think of, I have 2 special ed teachers, and or let's say 3. We have 3 special ed teachers and 6 grades. It's easy to say, well, teacher A is going to support kindergarten and first grade. Teacher B is going to support second and third grade. And teacher C is going to support fourth and fifth grade. But the number of students requiring services may be imbalanced in that model. The number of hours service may be imbalanced. So it's something that there's constant discussion around and looking at. And sometimes it's not, perfect, because I'm teacher A and I have 14 students and 34 hours of service. And teacher B has 18 students and 48 hours of service. And so like when we're looking at 2 teachers, there is they have less than I have. But at the same time, we're also looking at how can we best support, because a teacher might not be an expert in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, so that schools will try and set up a structure that will best work. All right.
Other questions before we move to the next?
Hello. Hi, Rob. How are you? So going back to I know you had a series of workshops for special education teachers. I noticed that in May, there's a OG V&V Inspire reading. Can you elaborate more on that? Is that just a training where special education teachers receive strategies, or will those teachers, do we have any plans to get more certified OG staff? Because I think certifying more OG staff will prevent more special education.
That's a great question. So this year we actually have 20 teachers. We tried to make sure that we could get 1 person per building who will have an OG level 1 certification. So we partnered with a clinic out of Westport, and they provided that training at the start of this school year. And now to just get the full certification piece of it, they have to provide service hours. And then once they put that in, then we will, because we're trying to build more, but our goal is to have at least one OG classroom teacher, one in every building. And I think that would be beneficial for all of our schools. But that is something that we are doing this year.
Can you make sure to explain what OG is for those who don't know that acronym?
Absolutely. Absolutely. OG is Orton Gillingham, and it's really these concrete reading strategies. And it's what I would say it's like the best program for students who have dyslexia.
I think coupled with that, I think it's important to also highlight that overarchingly, we have been training cohorts of teachers in the science of reading, which I think is really important because providing those tier 1 supports early on are just as critical. And we have spent a number of years now building grade by grade the capacity of the teachers around teaching the science of reading as well. And it's something that we continue to cycle through to make sure that all of our staff has that training in collaboration with making sure that we have the OG providers. And we'll talk more later about how we're further expanding that as well.
The other piece that I would just add is that we do have an OG associate in the district who works out at supporting schools around reading strategies. And she's currently in more training to become an OG trainer. And then once she becomes an OG trainer, we will be able to provide that training and certification in-house. So we are very lucky that we have her on our team, and she's not tied to one school. She's part of her role is to support teachers across the district. And so she's in many schools throughout the week, and she's providing training and support as needed.
One last question on that. When I'm looking at the new teachers, could you give us a sense of how many new teachers do we have? And then we went through that graph kind of quickly. We have increased the need for more teachers, but I'm not sure it was hard to read. How many teachers have we added in the last, say, 2 or 3 years?
Sure. So 2 years ago, we had 140.2 teachers, and now we have 156.7. So in the last 2 years, we've added 16 and a half teachers. So, and it's something that, I mean, I think there's 2 factors, well, 3 factors. I think factor number one is we have more students that are requiring services. Factor number 2 is we are developing more programs. And so as you develop programs, you need more teachers. And then factor number 3 is that as we are analyzing and looking at our services and our hours, and there's adjustments, which goes back to point 1 around more students equals more service. And we're constantly looking in how can we continue to build and how can we continue to add as we need. I mean, I can think of, in our high school, we had a specialized program that had covered 2 grades, and principal said, I really want this to be focused on 1 grade level content, and we were able to do that. But we had to add staff to make sure that happened, but it was like 100% what we want to do. And it was, great that a principal was able to advocate and we were able to work together to make that happen.
Would you mind going back to the slide that shows the increase, and the comparison with other districts?
This one?
Yeah. So I'm just curious if you've done an analysis. I imagine you have an analysis of why specifically we had such an increase from 2019 to 2020. Were we possibly under-identifying students in that time period? Or do you see the need in a specific area why it's grown? I know, we're not, we're fairly in line with the state at this
Well, we're
time,
under the,
but-
we're under the state.
Yeah, under this, yeah, and I see that, except for.
I will say one area, and Dr. Straya can add to it, but one area that I think we've gotten better at is our MTSS SRBI system that was not in place. And that SRBI system has helped us to better identify students, whereas maybe before they were not identified as much. And so when you're going through tier 2 interventions and then you're going into tier 3 interventions and we're not seeing progress, the natural next step would be to convene a PPT.
That makes sense.
And one of the things that we heard when we were having little small conversations with parents across the district that had students receiving special education services was that they were self-identifying their kids into services because we didn't have an SRBI system in the district. So we spent 5 years to build. That's why we have the interventionist. And I've spoken a lot to the board over the course of the past several years that there were some fundamental elements in our school structures that we were lacking that we needed to build on. Fortunately, during the pandemic, we had the resources to fund some of these programs, which is why, as we are thinking about the budget this year, and we've continued to advocate in prior years, is the importance of maintaining these interventionists and these coaches that are making sure that the appropriate processes are happening, particularly around identification, and before identification, the proper interventions to get to that point. Because the frustration that we heard from a lot of our parents was that they had to self-identify rather than the system providing those tier 1, 2, 3 supports, and then realizing that the child at that point needs additional services for a special education recommendation. We were not getting internal system recommendations into special education at all. They were mostly coming from parents, with some exceptions.
All right.
It just takes a minute.
Well, also, specifically in relation.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Did it turn off?
Oh,
just swap.
Okay. Specifically, in relation to the pandemic, this is a thing that was commented on by many people within the disability community, is that suddenly because of the pandemic, because those who needed these accessibility options was much more than just the disability community itself, a lot more became available. And so that includes, the funding for certain things that wasn't there, suddenly is. And so you have a lot more people within the disability community being able to advocate for themselves, having the tools there. And now that a lot more identification is happening, it's a matter of making sure that we can maintain that level of being able to be there and provide that for these kids.
And I think when we look at national trends, the nation as a whole, we saw after the pandemic an upward trajectory in terms of special education services across the country. So the state and our pattern is to par with what has been happening nationally as well.
I think nationally prior to the pandemic to after the pandemic, there was a 4% increase in prevalence rate. So just to give a context around what the national prevalence rate adjusted and looked at. And I do think the pandemic created a lot of, concern because students were in school, out of school, remote. And so we definitely see that across the entire nation.
And I think we will transition into now talking about programs. We've been very fortunate as a district to invest and build capacity internally to provide services for our scholars. I'm a very firm believer that students, where possible, should be educated in their neighborhood schools, in their community, and not have to go to other places to receive their learning experience. Socially and for an array of different factors, it's just good for kids. So I commend the district as well as the city for being committed in making sure that we build our programs around special education services to ensure that services are in-house. And we'll speak more about some of those commitments that started early on that allowed us to build those programs. But it overarchingly saves the city money in terms of per pupil over time, because it is more cost effective to provide those services in-house versus outsourcing those services. It provides opportunities for students to have familiarity in the community and build those connections that are critical for their not only their academic development, but the social emotional development and their connection to their peers. It creates opportunity for other students in the learning environment to develop empathy and learning how to work with diverse student groups. It also has afforded us the opportunity to increase opportunities for our teachers to enhance their capacity and how to serve as diverse student learners across the district. And it also has allowed us to create a standard and model that allows us to kind of partner with not only other agencies and organizations and how to most effectively provide the services, but align to like state and national trends where most systems are trying to bring services in-house versus taking them outside of the district for the reasons named. And we've included a glossary of all of the programs across the district that we offer as early as pre-K, expanding all the way into high school and as all the way into age 22.
I'm going to start with just like program determination, because I think Chairperson White asked the question, and I think just starting there would be a good place to start. So everything is determined through the planning and placement team. They would review a student's present level of performance. This data drives their goals and objectives. The team then determines the services that are they then determine the services required in order to meet those goals: type, frequency, duration, location, delivery model. An example of that could be math or reading instruction 3 times 30, which means 30 minutes 3 times a week. They would get specialized reading or a specialized math program, or just in this case, 40 minutes in a resource room or a small group. In some cases, a student cannot be serviced in that delivery model, and the team will then recommend a specialized program. So, and parents sit on that team. They're an important part of the team. And I think, as Dr. Estrella mentioned earlier, we are always considering the least restrictive environment for the student. A specialized program is more restrictive than a co-taught classroom, which is more restrictive than a gen ed classroom. So I think it's important that's something that is really important to us, is what is the student's least restrictive environment to be successful. And sometimes for the student to be successful, it might need a more restrictive environment. So I just wanted to just frame how we get into like a place of going into a specialized program. And as Dr. Estrella mentioned, we do have a glossary, and I want to highlight, because she mentioned this at the beginning about unfunded mandates, and that our pre-K-5 classroom was developed because the state passed a new law that said you have to be 5 years old by September 1st to start. There are exceptions. A family can say, I want my child to start. We give them an assessment, and in Norwalk, a student can then go into kindergarten. However, there are families who say, my child is turning 5 in October, and he or she is not ready for kindergarten. Well, in terms of a district, we have to provide that student services if they are identified. And so from that new law, we created a pre-K-5 classroom. This pre-K-5 classroom is housed at Fox Run, and there's a morning program and an afternoon program. If more and more students were taking advantage of that, we would have to develop a second classroom. So I think it's important because that program opened just recently last year, and that was something that was a teacher and that was 2 para-educators. So just from a staffing, when we talk about staffing, but that was something that we did add as a district to meet our legal requirements based on a new state law.
And sometimes we have to make those decisions past the budget being approved and in the middle of a fiscal year. And those mandates have not been accounted for as we are budgeting, as we design the program and have to finance it. So it's a very fluid process when we think about how much we are allocating, particularly in special education, because depending on who the students are that come in that are new to us, we cannot predetermine that. And if the number is at the tipping point, like Mr. Pennington outlined, we would have to create a new class, which means additional costs that we might not have accounted for during the budgeting process.
Some of our classrooms, we have our ICT, which is our integrated co-teaching. And so we have, at this point, almost three of our elementaries that have a full integrated co-teaching model. And that is a special ed teacher co-teaching with a gen ed teacher. And our other models of support are resource. So many of our elementary schools have resource support. When we look at middle and high school, it is really centered more on co-teaching. And as we're getting into like content specific, they usually will help support literacy or they'll support math so that they can really focus, because as you go up in grade, the content gets more complex. We have our LEAP program, which is a self-contained program that supports students with autism. And that program has expanded exponentially over the last few years. And we'll look at a timeline so we can see what the timeline of program development was. And then we also have a Literacy Academy classroom, which is for students with dyslexia or language-based disabilities. And that is for students in 4th and 5th grade. And I think one piece that we have been really discussing as a team is 4th and 5th grade seems to be too late. And so part of our budget and program development is to look at a 2nd, 3rd grade Lit Academy for next year. And so that's in our request, and we'll get to that piece. We have our STARS program. Our STARS program really focuses on foundational and communication skills. It is students with varying disabilities, but it is a program that we have so it's elementary school. We have 2 programs at Rowayton, and then we have 2 middle school programs at Nathan Hale and at Ponus. And then that leads us into our practical skills program at the high school, and both of our comprehensive high schools have a practical skills program. So you can see the continuum of service. We have our success classroom, and this is for students who need behavioral support, sometimes externalizing, sometimes internalizing. And we have that continuum that goes from elementary all the way through high school. We have our Triumph program that we've talked about a lot because it was a new program developed last year for middle schools. And it's really under the mantra that we're not trying to fit our students into the programs we have. We're trying to look at our students that we have and developing program to best meet the needs of the students. And this Triumph program is at Nathan Hale. And then looking into next year, we are looking for a Literacy Academy for 2nd and 3rd graders, and then the Momentum program. And this is really more externalizing behavior because our success program in the high school focuses on internalizing behaviors. So that's where we're looking to develop next year. And I think just looking at our continuum, going back to 2016, when the city made a $3 million investment into Norwalk Public Schools through a special appropriation to help develop programs because the number of students that were outplaced was astronomical at that time. And we've looked at where we were and where we would be now if we never developed these programs. And you can see this is 2016 to 2020 classes that were developed. And we've continued that work. 21 all the way into 2026. We've added classrooms. You can see in 2022, we added the OG Associate. We've added ICT at different schools. We have added our Triumph classroom. We've expanded LEAP. In 2024, we put a classroom at Kendall. 2025, we had a classroom at Fox Run. And prior to those 2 years, we had one program. It was at Wolfpet at one point. It went to Cranberry. So right now we have 4 elementary LEAP classrooms, and then we have a preschool LEAP classroom as well, and then proposed programming for next year. So it's something we're constantly thinking about, and how are we developing these programs and supporting them as we develop them.
I think an important piece for the board to know is that as we're developing programs, particularly in the lower grades, they continue to grow over time. So this has been an ongoing process that started when, like Rob articulated, we got the special allocation, but continues to be a project in development. Yet the cost savings for us as a system is monumentous because the amount of money that we would have to pay per child and as a lump sum over time is in the millions and millions of dollars.
And so this just outlines, you can see over time that the number of students being serviced, and in some classrooms it's stagnant. And I don't want to forget our 18 to 21 program, Next Steps and Project Search. Those programs, those have expanded in the short time that we've been here. We have a program that is Project Search that's at the college. We've added another program at the hospital. And then we have our Next Steps program that is currently housed at the Family Center. And what's really unique about this program is we actually take students from other communities as well. And so it brings in a funding source for us as well. It's a great program. We have great partners with the program. And Veronica Lenzen, one of our administrators for specialized learning, really has been monumental in developing and building that program and the success of that program. And so we're not just thinking about our students, we are thinking about our students on a continuum from 3 years of age all the way until the end of their 22nd birthday school year. And so we're constantly looking as how do we meet the needs of all of our students from from age 3 to 22. And we can see, like I said, the numbers in some of the programs shift depending on the number of students in the class. And as we add programs, we're able, like ICT, you've seen a continual increase in that program because we can't hire 6 special educators and put them into one building and for every grade to have a co-taught. So we've been developing that year over year. So we start with kindergarten, and then the next year we add first grade, and then the next year we add second grade, and so on and so forth. Fox Run is a school that has co-taught in our school classes. They were the first. They started years ago, but now Jefferson and Kendall are developing over time.
And it aligns with our philosophy that we want kids in the least restrictive environment. Before we continue, let's pause here for questions from the board. I think Nellie has a question.
Absolutely.
There we go. So 2 points. One, it's a linguistic bit is the preferred language is autistic students, not students with autism. It's person first. The other is what other options are we looking to other than ABA? Because ABA has a bit of a complicated history within the autism community. There's been looks to make it obviously better, but on some levels, and this is actually a point of contention with groups like Autism Speaks that like push ABA because some aspects of it can be viewed as abusive. And so it's being careful about how we implement that so that it doesn't actually further traumatize any autistic students.
One area that I do think I will say that is unique, more unique to Norwalk than across the state, is that we do have 9 BCBAs across the district. Our BCBAs are instrumental in supporting our RBTs. So a lot of acronyms, and so I'll try and just explain. We have our board certified behavior analysis BCBAs and our RBTs, registered behavior technicians. Our registered RBTs they work with our students. And so even when we're talking about paraeducator support, we are looking at a continuum of services. And so we have shared paras, we have one-to-one paras, and then we have RBTs. And each level is more, I'm going to say, more higher level of support, but also more restrictive, because one of the pieces that we're constantly working on is how are we building independence, and some of the pieces that we can see is that a student becomes very reliant on their one-to-one support or RBT support. So we're constantly looking, and even when part of the process, one piece is that like every student who has a one-to-one or an RBT, there should be a fading plan so that like we're building independence as we go. And so that's something that I do think is unique, because I know a town that might have one BCBA that supports the entire district. And so the fact that we have BCBAs in our district and who have high levels of learning, many of them are doctors, they are really working boots on the ground and supporting our students in many of our programs. So an example will be at Cranberry, where we do have 2 LEAP classrooms, where they have a full-time BCBA supporting that school, which is unique because usually a BCBA will support multiple schools depending on the number of students or the number of RBTs in that building. But we are intentional to be able to provide that level of behavioral support in our schools that have more, more need.
The questions from the board before we continue? Thank you.
I think one area that I did want to share is our graduation rate. And you can see over the last 4 years, we've seen an increase. There is a caveat to this. And so I want to make sure that I share that with you. So the caveat to this is students who, and I don't want to say it like graduate high school and go to the 18 to 21 program, they are not considered graduated because they are still in our system. So I think that that's important because that has a negative hit on our specialized learning graduation rate. I've talked with the state about this because the state looks at 4-year graduation rate and 6-year graduation rate. And if you go into the 18 to 21 program, you will technically not graduate for 8 years. And so they've shared that that's why the target for a district is 95% and not 100%. But we analyze this information. So if we're looking, at our rate, and the number of students fluctuates, but last year, the number of students was a 14% increase. So it was a higher number. So if we were to add that, I think the special ed administrators would be mad if I didn't say it's 14.2. So if our actual rate would have been 91.8, but it changes. So I can't say this next year, it might only be 1% or 2% because it depends on the number of students that we have as a district going into that program. And that special ed graduation rate is dependent on the number of students with IEPs who are graduating that year. And so then you take that number of students going into the 18 to 21 program, and that will then reduce that number. So I just want to share that piece of it. We have seen, like I said, 8% growth over those 4 years, but that is one caveat to specialized learning graduation rate. And I just wanted to make sure that I shared that piece.
And now we open it to the board for final questions.
Are there some specialized learners who do complete it in 4 years?
Yeah.
Right? So,
We have a lot of students who our graduation rate was 77.
Right. So the 18 to 22, what is the determination?
It's based on the IEP and next level of services.
And there's
So-
students that require a lot of interventions, and we're focused on developing their life skills
Correct.
more than we are on exposure to the
So the students in that program, a lot of them go out and they're working in the community. They'll take public transportation. And so then they'll go to a work site and they will work at a work site. And it is really developing life skills, independent skills, work skills in that program. But it is determined by the student's IEP. So I don't want to categorize why, but it is, like I said, I think that it's an amazing program that we have here in Norwalk. But it does, like I said, in the graduation piece, I just want to share. And I think that we get a report that just says what is the federal graduation rate, but the state has it's stuck on 4 years, 6 years. And because they don't exit the system, they technically say that they did not graduate. So I just want to share that, not to.
Do they still so they participate in graduation?
Yeah, we have
the end
our-
point would be their senior year.
Correct.
They just aren't included in that number.
Correct.
And the thing to note too, in terms of the higher number, so at any given point in the year, you can get somebody who moves here from another state, right? With a complete package of where he or she needs to continue their education with their lawyers. And we really don't have a whole lot of push on that, correct? And then have to fund it. So you could logically get somebody here in February.
We get
them all the time,
Plus a lot.
all year.
And
And
I want to,
think people
and
forget that.
but I want to say we also have students that may move.
My move.
So, but I will say that like 2 years ago in particular, we had an exorbitant amount of students moving in from other communities that had some like substantial needs or and we've worked with them to support them, but it does have an impact on the budget as well.
Rob, this is a two-part question. Sure. One of the second questions, basically, you really showed it, but I'm just going to ask you from a number standpoint. The first one, what's driving a higher average of staff turnover in our district?
I think that there are multitude of factors, and I'll try and highlight some of them. This year in particular, I know that we had a handful of teachers that, and they told us that's like the only reason that I know that left us to go to another district. And what they said was that their salary would be $15,000 more. And so that is substantial. Right. I think that is something that when someone says that, you hear that. I think special education, it is, you have to love what you do every day. It is hard work. And I think we heard Ms. Jordan speak Our special educators are working their tails off every day. They're working very, very hard. But it's a field that has demands and is required. And so that is, I think sometimes people may go into special education and realize that it's not for them or they want something different. And we've had that. And I think that our job and what we're constantly looking at is how do we build conditions that creates retainment and recruitment into our district, and how do we support them in that process. And I think I was able to talk a little bit about some of those things, but there are different factors that lead to why. I mean, we lost a teacher this year who had a family emergency and moved to Pennsylvania. Loved Norwalk Public Schools, loved the work she was doing, but had an emergency and needed to move. Like, there's a multitude of reasons. But there are different factors that create that turnover.
And I think competitiveness plays a big role because we can give them what other districts are offering, which I think is also a big part of the challenge and why it's sometimes really hard to find staff and attract people to want to come to the district as well.
And I mean, high turnover in special ed is not a Norwalk specific problem. I mean, I know that we are looking at our numbers, but I mean, I know a lot of educators in a lot of areas. Special ed is high turnover everywhere for the reasons you mentioned.
It is a common trend.
But I do think that one of the missions of the specialized learning department, and they talk about it all the time, is how do we keep getting better at supporting our educators to do the hard work that they're doing every day. And that's something that we're committed to doing.
From another standpoint, you indicated that, next year that you guys work with the unions as far as trying to figure out and try to help increase those numbers. What is the state right now as far as how many teachers are registered or showing interest as far as next school year is concerned?
You're talking about in the alternative
Yeah,
route program?
yes.
So
Endorsed?
what was
Is that what you're talking about? That are going to get cross-endorsed?
So we have 16 teachers right now that are interested. I think when we planned it for 8. But we have 16, I think, in the initial ask. I think we had 25 to 30. I think it's 28 to be exact. But the second we had a session, like an information session, where they were able to come together and offer that program and be able to provide that level. And so, but from there, we have a good number interested.
Rob, I'd like to go back to the unfunded mandates.
Sure.
You gave us 2 examples of where special needs were mandated for the 5-year-old going into kindergarten, and then the extended to 22 years old. We had a chance to look at this, but I got through it for about a half an hour and my eyes started crossing. And I'm wondering, these mandates include many things besides special education. I'm wondering, are there another 2 mandates that we're not aware of that we're feeling the pressure?
There's one, but I don't want to say it's not. We were actually ahead of the curve before it became a mandate. And that's what Dr. Estrella mentioned, and that is professional learning opportunities for paraeducators. Before that ever became a law, Dr. Estrella and Hope worked together to build out a system. And I mean, I'm lucky enough to be able to work and provide that level of training at our PD days and coordinate and bring people together to continue to build capacity through things like crisis prevention training, which is CPI training and restraint training to make sure all of our people are protected and know how to de-escalate. Because I think it's not about restraint, it's about de-escalation. And so we offer that training at every professional learning opportunity. And then we've brought in different people. Dr. Kimberly Erickson, who's leading our Portrait of a Graduate work, did a whole keynote session for our paras on the Portrait of a Graduate. And I think it's this idea that professional learning isn't just for one group of people, it's for the whole organization. How are we all learning? How are we all continuing to grow and get better? That became a mandate, but after we already had it in place. So I don't necessarily want to say that.
So we're not staring down another 10 unfunded mandates in special.
It's
in
funny.
special area.
Legislation session is just getting ready to get started. So
So there will be some.
is it tomorrow? I knew it was this week.
I want to
at the end of
know
the day.
what I can't, won't be able to sleep.
And if you recall from this past session, there was a whole booklet of mandates that we had to engage in that we make the board aware of. And this is why the policy committee is sometimes working through the summer. It's probably one of the only committees that sometimes works through the summer because we get new legislation that impacts our policies and we have to make adjustments around that. So it's in a revolving process. And this is why sometimes people that are in the private sector and have a finance background sometimes don't understand the complexities of school budgeting or district budgeting because there are so many nuances that we have to keep top of mind as we're planning forward that we have to do regardless of, right? And as we think through the work, we always have to keep top of mind these requirements to be able to do the work. On the piece of professional development, sometimes people are like, oh, eliminate professional development, blah, blah, and don't see the value around that component of the work. But a system that doesn't develop its people will become stagnant. And there is very critical for us to continuously develop the team so that the team continues to have the state-of-the-art research, the up-to-date information of how to most effectively support. Anneli brought up a good question about ABA and what the research says now and things that we have to consider. It is ever evolving because new information comes. We constantly have to build capacity within the organization. There was a time in Norwalk that people were not being professionally developed. And we've made a concerted effort over the course of the past 6 years to really focus on developing our people. It is critical. And I think highlighting that in the context of the work that we have to do, particularly in special education, becomes most critical. And when we are, just a final point, and when we also are bringing in staff that are working on their credentials, that don't have their full credentials yet, we need to make sure that we build their capacity as they're getting their credentials so that when they come in, they're best equipped to support our students.
I was just going to ask about the teacher academy. I know you mentioned that it's during the school day. Like, how is the attendance with that, and are we having any challenges with getting the people to get there to get those
So
services?
I do think that, to your point, I think one challenge with the model, I mean, I think it's an amazing program, but teachers feel I have to come, I'm going to miss providing services to children that I then have to make up. And so that adds a level of stress. And so the team is really thinking about how can we use different opportunities, maybe an early dismissal day that we have PD on, or different components where it's not impacting during the school day. It is well attended. I would love to have more teachers come, but I mean, in the morning session, at the last one, I think we had 18, and then in the afternoon session, I think we had like 6 or 7. But it is something we are getting a good number of staff coming to. I think that they leave feeling that they have an opportunity. Yes, it's professional learning, but they also have an affinity group because everyone in that session is newer and they have a group that they may not have at their building because they might be the only new person that's there. And so it does give them an opportunity as well to build relationships with other special educators who are in the same boat as them.
How does the district tracking in real time whether the students are receiving all their services?
Sure. So there's a couple different factors that happen. Our educators complete service logs, and those service logs track the services that they provide, and that's special ed, related service, speech, OT, PT, our psychologists. So they have a service log that's tracked. We also have progress monitoring, where there's opportunities where we're coming together, looking at our students, how are they doing, what are they doing, and how can we, because one piece that I think is something that we're constantly talking about, if a student isn't progressing in their goals and objectives, we should be having a PPT, because we have to adjust because what we're doing isn't working in that support of that child. So there are progress monitoring opportunities as well. So those are the two different factors. And like I said, every building has a special ed administrator that supports. And we also have compliance monitors in every single building. So that's another factor. Compliance monitor is a special educator. Could be social worker, could be teacher, but they get a stipend, and part of their goal is to monitor our IEP compliance so that we stay in compliance. Thanks. Absolutely.
Any other questions?
I just have a quick question. Going back to the 18 to 21 program,
Yeah.
those to 22, sorry. Those students, they graduate with a regular diploma or an IEP diploma?
Oh, they get regular diploma.
Okay, cool.
It sounds like other states that they don't graduate with a regular diploma. Connecticut treats it differently, but it takes 8 years. So that's why they're not accounted for on the graduation scope. Any further questions? So that concludes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Pennington. That concludes my superintendent report. I turn it back to you, Chairperson White.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob, for that as well. Now we're going to move on to action consent. That's number 3. This is the approval of the 3 items. First one is personnel actions. Do we have any questions or anything in reference to the personnel? We also have approval of trips. 1 to Boston, 1 to China as well. Any other questions? Anybody have any questions in reference to that? We have approval of minutes from the last meeting, which was on 1/20. Any questions on that as well?
No question, but there was like one small correction as I was going through. I think it said that Diana gave the library report. I gave the library report, like little thing like that.
Okay, if not, so ask for a motion. By Jasmine, first one. Second. By Ashley. All in favor? Aye. Approve. Second, we're going to go to action. The approval of programs of studies. Are there any questions? In your folder, you will see the item for that. I was also part of that committee as well, which was a great session which Rob conducted as well.
I don't have any questions, but it was really cool. Rob made a point of sending us some of the particular changes and some of the new courses that are going to be offered, and I'm just excited to see some of the offerings at the high schools in the coming year.
I would like to underscore that. I was able to hear all of the educational leaders explain the new offerings they had devised. That was exciting, as you said, but when you look at what is possible in the 4 high schools, it just gives you that feeling of wonderful exploring. And one of the interesting things, this kind of goes back to state mandating, is that a year or two ago, the state mandated that high school students should have personal finances. And I found it interesting in this unit of study, they, at the different high schools, offered 2 or 3 or 4 ways you could get that half a credit, for that 0.5 credit. So it's not just one personal finance, but several, and some of them looked really, really interesting. So it's a great body of work. A lot of credit goes to all the educational leaders that put that together. Appreciate it.
Rob, what is just the synopsis of it, just the down and dirty? Can you just give me a brief summary and then just tell me what are the benefits and if there are any changes that are prevalent?
Of courses that came was really this idea of schools looking at more higher advanced courses. So dual enrollment classes, we saw a lot of schools adding courses that will count towards higher level coursework. It's one of our accountability metrics. I can speak at Norwalk High. They have Bears Tracks to College, and they have been adding courses over the last couple of years. So if you look, you can see a dual enrollment course for financial literacy. So this is something that people are being intentional about. At Brian McMahon, IB for All is something that they have really been looking to expand. And CGS, a lot of CGS had just course name changes to make their courses IB named courses because they're an MYP school. So in 9th and 10th grade, you're taking MYP year 4 and MYP year 5 because MYP starts in 6th grade. And so you take years 1, 2, and 3 in middle school. And then in 9th grade and 10th grade, you're taking MYP 4 and 5. So you see that adjustment to their courses. But even CGS, they're expanding some of their IB language courses to offer more advanced coursework. And I think that it is one of the big differences between a dual enrollment course and an AP course is to get college credit in an AP course, you need to pass the AP exam, and it depends on the college. They give credit. Some schools give credit for a 3. Some schools only give credit for a 4 and 5, whereas in a dual enrollment course, you get the credit for passing the course. And this doesn't happen without the work of our educators who are willing to be able to become certified to teach those courses. And so I just want to highlight that piece. But I mean, you could see all the different courses that were proposed and came through and for approval, and really this idea that we're constantly looking and adjusting and changing our offerings to provide a wide range. I mean, if you look at the program of study, it is a large document, 170 pages. No, I didn't expect. Well, that's why I tried to give a synopsis via email. But yes, that is really the key. And like I said, schools are constantly looking at this work. This work it's really work that happens at the school level with our instructional leads, with our principals, and then our curriculum team works in collaboration with them. So it's a really high team effort. As I said in my email, a huge shout out goes to Kyle Heaslip, assistant principal at Norwalk High, Shirley Rockwell, assistant principal at Brian McMahon, Jen Spiro, the assistant principal at CGS, and then we also have Deb Costello, who is school counselor at PTech, because they are really involved in the program of study, and it doesn't come together without their work. So I do want to highlight them.
Can I just say one more thing? That when we want to talk about rigorous education, the rigor of the course, and there can be no question if you're taking courses that are college courses when you're in high school and you get college credit, you are actually pedal to the metal. You are really learning how to organize yourself and do very rigorous academic work. And so that opportunity is just bouncing in the high schools, many through IB or through the dual credit. So great, good going.
I just wanted to just highlight also the fact that we've been over the course of the past several years, making sure that there was course alignment across the organization, because we wanted to ensure that regardless of where students were in the district, that if we have a certain type of course, that there is consistency across the different high schools. And that's something I know over the past few years we've been working, particularly on those fundamental courses that all students have to take across the organization.
Okay, yeah, sorry. A couple points. I appreciate the amount of AP courses that are now available. But one thing that I know that we've expanded our languages through this CGS with both Mandarin and Arabic. But I was wondering, I know that we used to have amongst our languages German, Greek, and Latin. Is there any consideration for, or is there just no interest in those, or is that something that we are just completely off the table?
Well, I can speak about Latin. I know Latin was something that we had, and a couple of years ago, we ended up, we just didn't have the level of number of students taking those classes. And so like it was reduced. We had a Latin teacher at both high schools, and then it was 0.5 at each of the comprehensive high schools. And so we do, I mean, we have courses, and we're constantly tweaking and adding different courses. I know, I think it was a couple of years ago that P-Tech was looking to bring in Mandarin as a program, but then they didn't end up finding someone for that class. So it's something that schools, the world language department, like as they work towards the different classes, it is something like, but we do not currently have that class. But I just wanted to give some context because we didn't quote unquote get rid of Latin
Just because you felt like it no, I figured that was the case, but I just wanted to ask.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we look at is, particularly because we want to be responsible budgetarily, is making sure that our courses are at a minimum 15 students, just to make sure that we're getting our biggest bang for the resources that we're putting forward.
And I also appreciate that kids are now actually getting credit for things like jazz ensemble. I mean, they do put in the hours.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion to approve program studies? One by Mark, second by Ashley. Let's go to item B. All in favor? Sorry. Aye. Sorry. Let's go to motion B, the approval of the power purchase agreement for the rooftop solar project installment at Norwalk High School, P-Tech and Rigorous with the city solar developer. Any questions in reference to that?
I have a question. So I'm going to ask, I assume this is for Sandra. So do we already have any contracts with this company? Because I know that we've got the solar over at Cranberry, right? So is this the same company? Okay. My other question was, so basically just
Sorry, can Sandra answer the question on the podium, just so make the people,
Yes, they're the provider that we have also for Ponus, Jefferson, Cranberry.
So basically this rooftop project, so just kind of give me the Cliff Notes version. So it's going to drive all of or is this a supplement to?
No, it's a supplement. It's a supplement to the power that will be used at the new
facility, the new Norwalk High P-TECH.
And do you have to still use Eversource for transmission? Is there still a need to have a connection with the power company?
Yes.
You do, right?
Yeah.
I thought so. Okay.
We do. We still will pay that. You end up reaping the savings of this after many years because you end up doing a lease with them. And because we are a public entity, we can't get the tax rebate. So the company actually gets the tax rebate. And after many years, you end up getting on the back end. It's kind of like when you do it in your own home. At the back end is when you start to reap the
You get the
savings.
benefit, right? Because I know a lot of community members will come out and they'll talk about, sustainability and how come we're not doing these kinds of projects. And so it's good to see that
We do it
right,
on
we do,
all the
right.
new roofs.
Right.
So our old roofs, what we've explained in the past is
Right.
that if you start drilling holes into our old roofs, that we do not have the ability to actually make sure that not only that those solar panels will survive, but that the roof itself will survive because they're old. But all the new projects include solar,
Thank you.
of course.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion for approval of power purchase agreement for the rooftop solar project installation at Norwalk High School, P-TECH? Diana, second. Nellie, all in favor? Raise your hand. Aye. Approve. Okay, we're gonna go into the information of reports. We're gonna go into community representative reports. Do we have any community representative reports?
I have one. It's a continuation on a CES. Last time I reported and that it's such a large consortium group that while we do send four or five or six people, students, excuse me, our scholars there for some special services. It also provides it's something called RCA, and that is a regional creative arts. We could, Norwalk students could go there, but mostly it's closer to Trumbull where CES is located, Bridgeport and Shelton, around that area. And what it entails is it's an afternoon. If you're in high school, you spend your afternoon at RCA for drama, dance, production, and they put on 6 or 7 productions through the year. So it's a tremendous resource for artistic kids, and they get full high school credit. So it's half a year, half a day they're at their home school, and then they come over for the afternoon and for their productions. So I just wanted to say that was one other offering from there. And the last thing I'll mention is that they do offer professional development. I have gone to many of their professional development opportunities when I was a teacher a few years ago. And they have offered some, we've been talking about para education, and after they've been offering some of the courses, and these are without charge. So I'm just wanted to mention that it's quite a resource, and it's one of the rest. I think there are 4 or 5 in the whole state. So that's my report.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just want to make a comment, and what made me think about it was the document that you provided with regard to the unfunded mandates. But what I want to remind people of is that per Connecticut law and our federal government, we are required to educate students, and I think I've said this before, no matter what their immigration status is, given the time that we're in with all of the discussion around undocumented students and people conflating budgetary issues with us educating students who may be undocumented. I just want to remind people that it is the law that we educate all students no matter what their documentation status is, and we're not to ask about it either. And period, that's what it is.
Thank you. Are there any other reports? No. Go to number B, board member announcements. Are there any other board member announcements?
I'd like to make an announcement. I just wanted to share my gratitude for the district support of the Norwalk Mentor Program. I have been a leader there for almost 6 years now, and the program will not be as successful without the district's partnership and also the vision to allow the school liaison. So the school liaison that is an added role to her already full plate. So she goes the extra mile to be able to help the mentors in the building, the mentors and the mentees in the building. And also the mentor program had a celebration, I think about 2 weeks ago, and I had support of my board members that were there. So I really appreciate that. And I also want to highlight that Ashley is a mentor as well. So with all of her things on her plate, she does volunteer an hour a week to mentor a student in a Norwalk Public School. And we also have 2 city council members who are mentors as well. So definitely takes a village, and I'm appreciative of all the support within the Norwalk Mentor Program.
I want to say that on February 13th, Friday, it's going to be 10 years that Night to Shine has been in effect. Night to Shine is actually a prom for students with special needs. I have been a volunteer for 8 years. My son did it for 4 years. It's a wonderful, wonderful event. It takes a lot of volunteers, but it also takes a lot of buddies. And those are students that are matched up with other students to be able to have a great time. We crown all the children. We have kings and queens. Everybody gets a crown. Tim Tebow does a big announcement on Zoom, and it's this worldwide, and Tim Tebow surprises a different school every year. And with that, I also want to say thank you to all the NPS students that have registered to be buddies this year. We have over 100 guests coming, and we still have a waiting list for buddies. So if you're out there and you have a student that wants to register, please reach out to Night to Shine in New Canaan.
Anyone else? Thank you. Before we move on, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank those who stepped up for public speaking, thank those who are attending right here as well. Thank my board members as well. It's been a long day. We've been here since graduation. For those who are here, take the opportunity for the leadership and the help and the support as well. So as we should move forward, just be mindful that, you know, in order for us to be successful at what we need to do, we need to make sure that we're doing it accordingly in the propaganda for the rightness for the students and also for the supporting to continue to give Dr. Australia and her staff the support that they need. With that in mind, I'd like to just close out if I have a motion to adjourn this meeting. Ashley, second. Mary Ellen, all in favor? Aye. Great. Have a good night.